In a couple of hours, I'm going to go to my 8th therapy session. And in this session, I'm going to be broaching with the therapist my spiritual awakening. Because she's been focusing on the death of my mother, which is first port of call for psychologists and therapists, psychoanalytical therapists, because our childhood presents the vast majority of problems that we're ever going to have in this life. And so last time she was asking me to regress myself, and so I went back and spent some time with that little boy, and then brought him forward into the present, and so he's not left there alone, abandoned. I brought him forward and assimilated him with the adult, and so that's a cool process. But I'm not sure that constitutes any of my issues as to why I don't want to get engaged with society. What my issue is since my spiritual awakening, enlightenment, I've changed a great deal, and I see the world very, very differently. And over this past 16 years of doing all this research down all these rabbit holes, I've learnt an incredible amount of stuff about what it is to be a human being and what life is, and spiritual connections and all different sorts of things, people. And so now I'm detached from it. From the whole slavery perspective, or even, finding a partner and, getting married and having children and rearing your children and, getting a vocation and business making and home building and all that. Well, I did all that long before my spiritual awakening. And now, it's all in the past. And I'll never be doing that stuff again. I can't think for the life of me why I would want to begin to work again to earn money that I would never have the time to spend, say for buying a nice car and then a nicer car, and then moving into a bigger apartment or a house. I can't imagine me ever getting a mortgage again and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, people, I'm 62 in a couple of months. My retirement age is 67. So there's only 5 years left of my supposed working career or time span in any case. And so by the time I built up a credit rating and some money and all that sort of stuff. How you doing, James?
Good, mate. You?
Good, thanks. Then I'll be time to retire. And how many people would want to take me serious for a mortgage when I'm almost in the retirement zone? So all these things, people, it just makes it ridiculous as to why I would want to go out there into the labour force to spend all my time doing something that I don't want to do or like doing, so I could buy things that are bigger than what I've got now. A bigger apartment, a house, or a car, so I can go to and from work, and I can go shopping in it, And maybe on the odd day off, if I wasn't too exhausted and mentally burnt out, then I might think about something enjoyable to do, and then get on the motorway and then go somewhere. I don't care if I don't ever go on a motorway again in the rest of my life. I really don't care for that stuff. So you see, there's nothing that is attractive to working for me at all. And so I'm going to say to the therapist, since my spiritual awakening, it killed that matrixial entity, that fiction of the self, because now I know that there isn't one. And it's all a pretense, it's all a game, it's all an act. We're just juggling with personas all of our lives, pretending that we're real boys and girls, when in actual fact, if we look very closely, we will find that there's nothing there. Just imagination. Just hopes and dreams and fears and desires and anxieties. That's all that's there. Until you come into the epicenter of what we are, which is nothing. Nothing is the epicenter, people. Or pure awareness, which effectively is nothing, because it isn't anything. It's just awareness of awareness. And then out of the awareness comes consciousness. And then we create the human ego, and then we pretend that we are having lives that we're actually living, and that things matter when there is no matter. So even when you say things matter or it doesn't matter, we're referring to that substance which is all illusory in any case. There is no matter. There is no physical matter. And you could say, well, depends which way you look at it. Yes, depends which way you look at it. Well, if something's reality depends on which way you look at it, well, we have to be really, really careful about that, don't we? Because lots of people could say, I believe God is real. It depends which way you look at it. I know He's real. I know God is real, the same as I know I'm a human being. Well, if you want to get into those sorts of delusions and self-trickery, then go ahead. It's your prerogative. We all have our own prerogatives of what fiction we want to perpetuate. And so, I'm going to be saying to her, look, from my encounter with the shooting in Africa all those years ago, something inside died. What died? Well, the belief in the Matrix, that's what died. And it didn't die instantly, it wasn't overnight, because when I got my money back from selling my property in Africa after the shooting, which was almost 3 years, then I went and bought more property in Bulgaria, and I was doing that again for the next 3 years, and that turned out to be a disaster because we were still in a financial downturn and nobody was buying any properties all around the world, most of all, least of all, in this up and coming new star of the European Union. People were very, very cautious. So I never made any money. And I just got myself an untold amount of stress. And I thought, well, that stress, if I was going to equate it to an amount of money that I would exchange it for, I would say, well, I would have to have at least £200,000. I mean, that's over a 3 year period. £200,000, that's not a lot. It's not a lot, is it? It's not a lot. When you've got all different sorts of shit going down, every day is just a constant stress dealing with the bureaucracy and all that sort of stuff. So I'm like, well, I don't want to do anything like that ever again for the rest of my life. And so On top of that, she's going to ask me how I felt about the two angels visiting me in the very, very early days of my spiritual awakening. Then I'm going to mention to her my encounters with Yahweh and Jesus and the devil, and how now I'm in this supernatural realm. I literally dwell in a supernatural realm, not believing in the physical world, and not even really believing in anyone else. I really am quite solipsistic, because I seem to absolutely know that everything is me, because everything is within my consciousness as far as I'm concerned. How can everything not be a part of me when we look around and every single thing is in my consciousness, and however I think about these things pertains to me? And some people could say, oh, there's loads of cars down the street and they're nothing to do with you, awake and brave. No, they are everything to do with me as long as they're in my consciousness. Yesterday, when they weren't in my consciousness, they had nothing to do with me. Tomorrow, when they're not in my consciousness, they'll have nothing to do with me. But as long as everything is in my consciousness, it's got everything to do with me, because it is me. It's my senses, it's my being, it's my life experience, it's everything. Because if we take our consciousness away, then what is that? Just pure awareness. So then we slip back into cosmic God consciousness, don't we? And that's all there really is, people. And so it's going to be interesting to see if she wants to engage with me on this level. So anyway, that will be taking place in about 2 hours' time. And so we'll see how it goes.